Okay, hello all. Welcome to this webinar introducing the Integrated Clinical Academic Programme Internship Scheme. So hopefully you can hear me. I know that the audio is working. Perhaps if what you might see at the bottom right of your screen is a little purple icon. If you hover over it, it might say Open Collaborate Panel. It might already be open. And then there's a little speech bubble once you open that to the left. So you can type something in. Say hello to us. If you can hear me, just type something in to say, yes, you can hear me, and all's good. Maybe people can't hear me. I'm going to assume that you can. Oh, yes, just. Oh, that's probably because I'm sat quite away on the microphone, so I'll talk loudly. Right, so just to start with, I'm just going to introduce you a little bit to the screen that you can see and how we'll set this up. So we're going to go through this internship scheme, explain to you a little bit about the scheme, the applications process, the programme itself, and a bit about mentorship. But really, it's an opportunity for you to ask questions about the scheme. So as we go through, if you have questions, just type them away. I've set privileges so that you can only use the chat function. So just type a question, anything that you go through. We'll keep an eye on those as we go through, and we'll read them out and respond to them as we go. So just to introduce us, my name's Rob Appleyard. I'm going to have a responsibility for the education part of this internship scheme, the distance learning aspect of it. And sat to my left is Kate Grafton. I'll let Kate introduce herself.
So I'm Kate Grafton. I'm overall programme lead and programme manager for the programme. And so I'm responsible for putting together the overall coherence of all the different elements that are within the programme. And as you'll see, there's quite a few different strands within. We also have on the course delivery team is Margaret Dunham. But unfortunately she couldn't be with us today, but we'll introduce you to her as we go through where she sits within what her responsibilities. Okay?
Okay. Now I'll just say that the session's been recorded, and afterwards I'll make sure this is uploaded to YouTube. I'll send out the link to all participants and people that have demonstrated an interest in the scheme. So you'll be able to come back to this and listen again. So let's crack on. So as I've said, we're going to introduce a little bit about what the scheme's about. Kate's going to talk about that, and Kate's also going to talk about the applications process. I'll give a quick overview of the programme and how that's going to be organised over the period between September and May. And then importantly, we're going to talk about the mentorship and support that you're going to get as potential interns for that period. And as I've said, it's really an opportunity for you to ask us any about scheme, anything about what's expected of you, what you have to do, about mentorship, anything at all. So anything that springs to mind, please do type your questions as we go. So I'm going to hand over to Kate to talk a little bit about what the scheme's about and then about the applications process.
Okay, the scheme is funded by Health Education England, and it's run in partnership with the National Institute for Health Research, and Sheffield Hallam are identified as providers of the scheme. The scheme is targeted at novice researchers. It forms part of their ICA scheme to develop people from novice researchers right through to experienced researchers and professors. So this is the bottom rung on the ladder. So really, the less experience somebody has, the more that this scheme is targeted towards them, the more appropriate they are. So it's about developing that foundation for research career. It's an opportunity for participants to start to engage with research on a sort of theoretical level, but also a practical level, which occurs through the mentorship and the project. So it's an opportunity to dip your toe in the water of engaging in research. And if the outcome of that is that an individual who engages in the programme doesn't want to go on to progress to do a master's in research and taking on a full research career, that's absolutely fine. They've made that, they've thought about it, they've understood what research is about, and they're choosing not to progress through a formal research career. However, what it hopefully will do is the opportunity to engage in research and understanding the process will enable them to be much more research-informed clinical practitioners, perhaps to engage in supporting research projects in their clinical area and getting involved in service evaluation. So it's a foundation level, it's a starting point for participants. What we are, as part of the programme, there's a couple of strands to the programme. There's a mentorship element where we look for people to identify either a mentorship for themselves, or if we know what area people are interested in, we can help support them to identify a mentor. So we've got contacts throughout the North area. So that mentor will work with the participant through engaging in some sort of project. It could be a service evaluation, it could be a systematic review, it could be a project that the mentor is already involved with that participant starts to link in with. So it's getting an experience of research, a practical experience. Then there's a parallel educational programme to that. So the educational programme is divided into two components. There's some face-to-face days, which there's, and then there's a distance learning package. So we're looking at continuity between September through to May. It's a total of 38 days of participant time. It should be ring-fenced to engage with the programme, during which time they use the 38 days to engage in the project with the mentor, the face-to-face programme, which is 4 contact days, and the online programme. But the primary support, once somebody is engaging, is on the programme, is to work with the mentor around that project, and then everything else links to support that.
And we'll talk a bit more about the mentorship a bit later on in this webinar. Yeah.
Okay, so eligibility. First of all, before I move further, have anybody got any questions based upon the outline structure? We're going to talk more detail about the detail of the programme, but any questions so far before I carry on? If you type your question in. No, I think we're okay. If you think of something, type it in. I'll talk to the next slide, and I can come back and answer the questions as they appear. So, application process. First of all, eligibility criteria. So the programme is covering across the north of England. It's the North Health Education England region, so covers the North East, North West, and the Yorkshire and Humber geographies. And it's people who are employed in that area. So we've had some inquiries for people who've just been over the border who live in the region, but they're working in a different region. There are different programmes if you're working in a different region, similar. So you need to be employed in an NHS organisation or an organisation that undertakes a lot of NHS work. You need to be one of the registered health professionals in a non-medical clinical role. So on the website, there's a list of those, but essentially nurses, midwives, whole range of allied health profession roles. So it's NHS focused, it's sort of non-medical, so nurse, midwifery, allied health professions. And it's people who haven't already got a research qualification. So if you've already got an MRes, this is not the programme for you. If you are looking to do a PhD and have got research experience, again, not the programme for you. This is for people just starting out thinking, They may have been qualified some time ago, working clinically for years, and all of a sudden thinking, you know, what now? Actually, should I be doing more research? Do I want to sort of take my career path in that direction? And then they're at that fork in the path. So if you have a lot of research experience, not the programme for you, it's for people without the experience. It is important that you have support from your line manager and employer, and we ask for that as a part of the application process. And the reason for that is that your line manager must be releasing you from work. So the programme comes with the £7,500 available as backfill. So that money gets paid to the employer, to your employer, which is why it's so important to have the line manager buy-in. So the £7,500 covers the backfill time for for 38 days of your time. So some people that will come to less than 7,500. Some people it might be slightly over. It's a fixed sum which is available, and that money also covers the travel to the face-to-face days. So that needs to be claimed from the line manager.
Let's address Babs's question here. Do we have to attend all the study days, or can we pick and choose the ones we want to go to?
No, you have to attend them all. The programme it's quite structured, and so the first 2 days are introducing the programme, the online learning sort of resource, the action learning sets. So, and it's also during the first few days you're getting to know each other. So you as a cohort, so you have to be able to go to all of the days. And as we come through to the final day, that's a group presentation day. So clearly you need to be there for that final day as well. Okay. Okay, application process, the important days. We've set the application process up in 2 distinct phases. We've got an expression of interest phase, for which the deadline is closing on the 17th of May. The reason we've done this is in past years, there have been lots of full applications from people who are simply not eligible for the programme, and we don't want people wasting time applying if they're not eligible. So the deadline for expressions of interest helps us serve as a quick filter to advise people very early on as to whether they're eligible or not. Also, it allows us to, for those people that haven't got a mentor lined up, it provides an opportunity. We can find out a little bit about what the area of interest is to help identify mentors for those people that are applying to follow up and to develop their full application. So that's the first phase.
It's probably worth, just quickly, sorry to interrupt there, Kate, to answer Amy's question, would completing a single research module make them no longer eligible? No, I mean, I think a single module is fine. It's just
if you've done a single research module as part of an MSc, that's fine. If you've got a full MSc and have already undertaken quite a sizable chunk of research as part of that dissertation, then you've probably you've done the components of really what is offered in this programme, because you'll have engaged in research.
Another question from Lisa. Sorry, audio's breaking up. Did you say that the trust we work in would cover travel expenses?
Yes, the £7,500 should provide sufficient expenditure to cover your backfill and the travel expenses to the days. And we'll talk more about where they are, but really the geography of it would mean you'd be travelling what I call to away fixtures for 2 of the days. Yes.
And Babs is saying, I've got a pre-reg MSc, does that prevent me from applying? No, it doesn't. No, that's absolutely fine. That doesn't make you ineligible, Babs. It's just post-registration masters. Okay, sorry, interrupted there.
So to come back to, 2-phase process, expressions of interest 17th of May. So people have got a week to get those expressions of interest. It's very top level information. We're not making any judgments based on that. We're just advising eligibility for the programme and advising about mentors, but people haven't already got them. The 31st of May is the deadline for the full application. So we will be, based upon that, we will shortlist for interviews. Part of that full application is to outline your ideas and thoughts for the project that you're wanting to get involved with. You need to have identified your mentor, and it's identified really what you're wanting to get from the programme. We'll then be shortlisting people to come for interviews, and at those interviews I'd like to visualise it much more as a conversation around the project ideas. So we'll be looking at people, discussing the project ideas and the mentors, and so hopefully that interview process will help shape and refine the project ideas of what people are going to get from engaging in the programme. We've identified 3 dates on which we're going to do those interviews, so the 26th, 28th and 30th of June. We'll be rolling around. The 26th of June interviews will occur in Newcastle, the 28th in Manchester and the 30th in Sheffield. We will endeavour to invite people to the interview centre that is nearest to where we are based. So if somebody is from living in Teesside and North East, we'll try and invite to interview in Newcastle. But depending upon the number of applicants, we might have to pull people a little bit out of area. So if you can try and keep those dates free. If you're in from Newcastle and you can't do an interview on the 26th, then we're happy to invite you perhaps for an interview, whether it's in Manchester on the 28th or Sheffield on the 30th. So that's about us trying to get out to where people are based, because clearly the north is a long area. Okay, anything else we should have there? So I think just remind you all that you need to email your completed expressions of interest through to the ICA internships at shu.ac.uk by the 17th of May. That's absolute deadline, and then we'll send you back the full application form for you then to work up your full application for the 31st of May.
Okay.
We've got a question.
Yeah, John, how many applicants will be in this intake?
We have got, at the moment, we've got funding for 15 places. So we're looking to draw the most appropriate applicants from across the North region. If we have lots more of appropriate applicants, people who we think would benefit from the programme and other Health Education England programmes don't fill their programmes sufficiently, we've informed it might be possible for some additional funding to be moved into the Health Education North programme. But that's, that isn't guaranteed. That apparently last year there were some extra places that became available over the summer. So we're interviewing to fill 15 places, but we will also have, if you like, a reserve list that if more money has become available, we can then go back to those people to say, another place has come available, would you like to take it up? Okay.
Okay. Yes, I'll talk a little bit about this. Just a quick comment to those that have joined during the session late. If you've not already found it, the little purple icon on the bottom right of your screen, if it's not already open, if you open that, you'll see a little chat window, so you can ask questions within there. Also, the session's been recorded, so you can always revisit this. I'll send a link out to a YouTube video to all those participants and potential applicants after the event today. So the programme. So the first thing to say about the programme is that core to this is obviously your involvement in a research project that is supported by a mentor. Now, it says research project there. It doesn't have to be a research project per se. It can be an evaluation, service evaluation project. It could be a systematic review. It could be contribution to an ongoing project within your centre or within your trust. It might be a service development project with some evaluation associated with it. So don't be put off by the fact that it says research project there. But that's going to be core, and that's what you're going to outline in your application, is the project that you want to be involved in, and identify your mentor and how they're going to support you in that process over the September to May period. So that's core to this. And then there's, as highlighted earlier, there's two other aspects. There's 3 attendance days. Well, actually, there's 4 attendance days, 2 of which are at the start. So on the 11th and 12th of September, we've got a 2-day residential here in Sheffield to introduce you to the scheme, to go over everything about the distance learning education package, to introduce you to that, to make sure that you're prepared for how to get the best out of mentorship, and to sort of basically provide you with some introductory stuff about the programme scheme as a whole. So the other thing to comment about that 2-day residential is that accommodation will be provided for you, and there's an evening deal as well. So even if you're fairly local to Sheffield, we would like to insist that you participate in that as well, if possible, to stay over as part of the residential. So that's the introduction. On that day, you'll meet some key people from here at SHU. So I'll be there, Kate will be there, Ian, who's put the message up there about emailing expressions of interest, will be around. Margaret Dunham, who's going to be taking the lead on the sort of the face-to-face aspects of the scheme, will be there and leading on this. And we will have 1 or 2 professors from the research centre here to introduce themselves and highlight how they're going to be involved in this scheme for you. Then there's a second face-to-face day, 5th of December in Newcastle.
No, Rob, that's the 3rd day, it's 2 days at the beginning.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Yeah, okay, so the second of these, the 3rd day, or the second of these face-to-face events is in Newcastle, all about developing networks. And the final day is the scheme, where that's actually, we've got a date right now, it's the 22nd of May, and that's probably going to be in Manchester. We'll confirm that as soon as we can. And that's where you're going to be presenting the outputs, the outcomes of your project to your peers on the scheme and to the rest of us. And then parallel to this is a distance learning package. We kind of expect you to sort of keep an eye on this throughout the whole of the scheme. I think if you look on the web page, it will tell you that there's going to be about 4 days worth of 4 days expectation involvement within this. So the distance learning package is going to be split into 3 parts, or they all interact with each other. So I'm not sure if there's anyone who's participating today that's had experience with using Blackboard. Now that's our virtual learning environment, and that's where the research methods module or site will be based. You'll be provided with, you'll be enrolled on that, you'll get a link to that, and within there there'll be a series of resources on research methods and evaluation. There's an opportunity to interact with your peers, discussion forums where you can ask questions, and part of this module on Blackboard will be where you engage in these action learning sets. So there'll be probably 2 or 3 action learning sets. You'll have a member of staff here at SHU who will act as a facilitator, and the purpose of these action learning sets is to really encourage you to share problems and challenges and to use the group and the facilitator to help you to work away around these particular issues, how you're going to solve them, come up with action plans. I'm going to answer this question here, yeah. Go on.
The question's been asked, is it better to focus on one project, or to sort of be able to participate in an ongoing project alongside the mentor, as well as doing systematic review? I think it's going to come down to time, and you'll be amazed actually. Yes, it's 38 days, but you've got 4 days of face-to-face programme that Rob described. There's the online programme. That really, it's probably focus on one or the other and doing it well. From previous people I've been involved in mentoring, if you try to do too much, then you don't do either one well. So it's either engaging in the existing project for you, or focusing on systematic review, and the mentor will guide you through that systematic review. So my advice with everything in life is keep it simple, and I think very much with this, just focus on doing the one thing.
it's not unusual, I think, for novice researchers to, I wouldn't say try and bite off more than they can chew, but to perhaps underestimate how much time is involved in undertaking even small-scale projects. So yeah, try and keep it small-scale, focused, and as Kate says, keep it simple. So back to the distance learning package. So associated with this is also an e-portfolio, and there'll be a link to this platform from the Blackboard site, where the research methods module is situated, and we use a platform called PebblePad. Now, associated with that, there'll be a series of screencasts and videos that will introduce you to this portfolio platform, help you to understand how to use it, and there'll also be a series of templates and forms that you can use. There'll be a portfolio template that you can adapt for use. The purpose of this is for you to record and reflect on your experiences throughout this scheme. So you can record your discussions with your mentor, you can keep a record of your involvement in the project, your own thoughts and reflections. And this is something you'll be we'll actually have a look at the end of this. It'll be about 3,000 words equivalent, and we'll provide you with some feedback. So Sheffield Academic will provide you with some feedback on your involvement in that portfolio.
I think the only other thing to add to that is throughout the period of the programme between September and May, you're provided with a log on so you can access all of the online learning resources, the learning centre, all the journals, all the e-books and things which are available to all Sheffield Hallam University students. So you'll have access to a whole range of resources to help you really navigate through the research project and the research methods module.
I think the other thing as well, that's sort of an added bonus of being a participant here, is that you'll be given a user account with PebblePad, and you'll be able to keep that forever. So you'll be able to continue using PebblePad as an e-portfolio platform for as long as you want after your involvement in this.
Okay, got a question here about, is it possible within the time frame to go through NHS ethics using service users? I would recommend that if you know roughly what you're looking at doing, you make inquiries locally about the ethics, but actually 6 months, the time frame we've got between September and May is not a lot of time to prepare the proposal, to engage with ethics, and then to do the project. So if somebody has already started with a project and they've already got ethics approval, and there's a bit of that project that you can engage with, then I think that's fine. But I think to think of the project, do the proposal, get ethics, and then do the project, there's too much there to do within September and May.
It's not to say that it's unachievable, but it is a challenge. And I think if there was something that you thought it was important and you wanted to do, then I think as long as you can demonstrate on the application form a kind of a time frame, a timeline as to how this will be achieved, then that's, it's not something you would exclude.
But I say if you can keep it sort of simpler it is, the easier it is to get through the whatever the local approvals processes are.
Another question there from Babs. Know who my mentor is going to be. Shall I name them on the form, and do they need to be approved?
They need to be named on the form at the point of application, and we need to ensure that they meet the criteria. And your mentor also needs to agree and sign a form to say that they are happy to be your mentor. We'll talk a little bit more about mentorship in a minute, but essentially if we had any concerns that the person you've identified wasn't the appropriate mentor for you for whatever reason, but we felt that at the point of application you had really strong application, you fit the programme, then we could work with you to identify another mentor at that stage. But really, ideally, you'll come in at the application point, 31st of May, with the mentor that you're going to work with.
Okay, just quickly then on what you're going to be producing as part of this internship scheme. So at the end of this, you'll have put together a report on your project. So the guidelines there are 5,000 to 7,000 words. Your mentor is going to be responsible for reviewing that, providing you with feedback on that. And that might be something that you then, hopefully, would then want to consider converting into some form of publication as a result of that. At the same time, there's the e-portfolio I've been talking about. We will provide you with feedback on that. So one thing that we can see is that we'll give you the opportunity to share that and submit that to what we call a workspace where we can see that, and we can see your progress as you go through this. So it's an opportunity to give you some formative feedback along the way too, rather than just reviewing it at the end. And then, of course, you'll be presenting on this final day, which is actually on the 22nd of May next year. So these sort of arrangements for that day yet to be finalised, but we'd envisage it sort of a 15 to 20 minute presentation of your project. And then, as required, possibly, and through the portfolio, recording your engagement with your mentor, progress on there as well. So, mentorship is key, really, I think, to the success of the internship scheme. So, Kate,
yeah, the mentorship set up that the funding enables us to pay the mentor's employing organisation £1,000 for being a mentor. So it doesn't go to the individual; it goes to their employing organisation. So they are sort of main contact and support for your project throughout the programme. We encourage people to identify their own mentor because it's important, the relationship between the mentor and the participant. And it may be somebody from the same professional background. It may be somebody who is engaged in research in the area that you're interested in being engaged with, getting involved with. It may be somebody quite local to you. You may actually prefer that it isn't somebody in your own organisation, that it's somebody at a university. And there are a whole range of universities in the region. We're looking at mentors have qualified to at least MSc level and have experience of research. Ideally, they'd have some sort of doctorate and continue involving in research. Academics based in universities are often a good choice for mentors because they're used to the mentorship process and guiding people through research programs. But if you can't think of a mentor, we're putting together and gradually developing a database of potential mentors. So on the expressions of interest, you identify what area you're looking at, and we'll try and think who we know and sort of use our networks to identify potential people that you could work with. And we won't ever recommend, ideally we won't recommend just one person, we'll recommend a couple of names for you then to go to identify who you think you can work with. So that's the key element. So during the programme, we'd expect you to meet your mentor certainly after the first 2 days, two-day event, to negotiate, the remit and the scope of the project you're going to engage with, and to sort of draw up some, almost like a contract of mentorship, what you can expect for them and what they can expect for you. So you may be working on a project involvement, and they'll guide you through that research project. The written output that's between 5,000 and 7,000 words, it could be that the output is that it is something about, if you're doing a project related to some bigger research project your mentor's involved with, it might be that output is the systematic review. It might be that the output is that you've written up something, a first draft of an article for publication that you then you'll publish in collaboration with your mentor, which is why it's really important that the mentor provides the feedback and has some joint ownership of working with you on that written report. We're providing a handbook and some guidance for the mentors about what the expectations are from them as a part of the programme. So we're expecting you to meet regularly, and if there's any breakdown or problems with that mentorship, relationship, then we'd like to know as soon as possible, so we can help you work through to sort of rectify and manage that relationship. So I think that's all I've got to say on mentorship. Anything else you think?
No, that's covered everything, I think. Yeah.
Any questions?
And that's basically all we had to cover today. So I think that just leaves you an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have.
Just while you're thinking of the questions, there's one other bit. What we're looking at doing, because this is a new programme, is we're trying to take the opportunity to wrap a research project around this educational programme to try and evaluate the impact. So we're still working that up and what that looks like, but we're looking at them to be as integrated as possible throughout the various stages of the programme. So probably start off on day one with your evaluation of the self-assessment of actually the research skills, how you're feeling about research at the start. But we'll be hopefully setting it up so the evaluation won't finish in May at the end of the programme, that will be looking to try and stay in touch with individuals in the cohort to see where people move on to a year, 2 years down the line. So just to let you know that we'll be looking to wrap rounds around it so we can demonstrate the impact and the value of the programme, and we'll be seeking your engagement with that. Any other questions that people have, thought about as we've talked through these? When was this internship scheme set up? There's been an internship scheme similar to this has been running for a number of years. It was previously run by the Health Education England in the Northwest, and it was a different scheme. This has come out, the contract was re-tendered this year, and so this is a new scheme meeting the sort of terms and conditions of that contract. If you have a look through to the HEE website, there are some case studies, and you can find a link from the website that we've linked this from. There are some case studies of some previous participants, but just to let you know, they did a slightly different scheme. There wasn't the distance learning component. The face-to-face component was quite different. Really, the common element was the mentorship and the project was the same. But what people have previously done, some people have gone on and have progressed through to the MRES programmes. Others have actually said, I'm not going to do any more, I'm not going to engage in the NRES programme, but I'm going to engage and try and support portfolio projects in my workplace, or I've used the skills, I'm going to engage in service evaluation. So they haven't formally progressed through, if you like, a research career, but they brought more research into their clinical practice. And either outcome is absolutely fine. We're wanting to look at the value of both. So we wouldn't regard it if somebody didn't progress through to an MRES as a failure of the programme. That's not the case at all. Okay, and Ian, I think, has provided a link there to where the case studies are. Any other questions? Okay, if nobody's got anything else, what we've got, there's the email address, the ICA internship address. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to email them. Ian or myself will pick those up and we'll respond to them. If in doubt, if you're still in two minds, submit that expression of interest. We can then send you the full application form and you'll see more clearly.
Next research project list review, with the aim of highlighting further research opportunities. Absolutely, yes. Yeah, it's a good idea to do that. Yeah.
And that literature review, you might want to write it up just as a review. You might want to write it up in a format, well, actually, I can get that published. So the written sort of brief assignments, it's quite a long words, but it's very flexible. The whole programme is designed to be flexible so that you can make it work for you. Okay.
One more question here. A couple more questions. What would happen if you changed jobs partway through a scheme? No employees who's funding. That's a good question.
I'm not exactly certain. What we would look, I think, is that if you started on the programme with one employer, you changed the part of the negotiation on you moving to your new employer, is that the balance, the pro rata balance of the 7,500 transfers to your new employer so that you can continue to engage in the scheme. That, I think, really is what we'd probably be seeking, but I don't know that it's happened before, and until it happens, we don't know.
Dominic's asking, is there plans to run the internship scheme in 2018-19? Yes.
Yeah, the contract, it's definitely going to run for the next 3 years, subject to HE not pulling the funding, but my understanding is we're planning on running it for at least the next 3 years. With some of the HE, with not with HE, but with the internship, with the research career support that goes on through NIHR, but we're confident we're running for the next 3 years.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for participating in this. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you haven't already decided to submit an expression of interest, it's encouraged you to do so. So look forward to seeing those. I hope that many of you do. And with any luck, we shall see you either at interview and then again in September. So thanks once again, and good luck with your applications.